Hello, class 9 students. Today we are going to talk about a man who was an inspiration to many. He was known by different names like People's President, sometimes also Missile Man. Yes, we are going to talk about APJ Abdul Kalam. His full name was Abul Pakir Jianulabdin Abdul Kalam, whose projects in space, defense, and nuclear technology guided India into the 21st century and became our 11th president in 2002. He was born on 15th October 1931. His simplicity, his nature towards work, his hard working ability, his dedication towards studies and his own country has been thoroughly inspiring. In his autobiography, Wings of Fire, he speaks of his childhood. The present extract that we are going to talk about today is taken from Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire. Here, he describes his early childhood. Though he belonged to the middle class Muslim family, he rose to be one of the greatest scientists of the world. It was under his leadership that India successfully exploded its atom bomb and became a nuclear power. So, here we start. To start with, my childhood, we'll talk about Kalam's family. In the first paragraph, he has said, I was born into a middle class family, Tamil family, in the island town of Rameshwaram in the erstwhile Madras state. Erstwhile is a new word for you all, children. It means former. So, previously, this state was known as Madras and now it is known as Tamil Nadu. So, he was born in a Tamil family in Tamil Nadu, which is known as Madras, okay, and into a middle class family. He mentions here, my father, Gian Ulabdin, had neither much formal education nor much wealth. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and true generosity of spirit. In this paragraph, he introduces us with his father, whose name was Gian Ulabdin, who had never been to school and had never got formal education. But in spite of that, he had innate wisdom. Innate here means in one's nature, something which is carried by a man's nature, which was there in his nature. What was with him? Though he did not go for a formal education, he had wisdom. Wisdom means a wise man, a man who can differentiate between good and bad. Okay. Along with that, he was a generous man. Generosity was one of the quality that was possessed by Kalam's father. And he had an ideal helpmate in my mother Ashiamma. Now, when he talks about his mother Ashiamma, he says that Ashiamma would always help her husband in all the good works that he did. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I'm quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the members of our own family put together. Here he mentions that his mother and his father were so generous that in spite of being in a middle class family, they would always feed the outsiders. They would always feel good in feeding the outsiders. I was one of a many children, a short boy with rather undistinguished looks, born to tall and handsome parents. So here Kalam says that I was one of many children. So, let me tell you, Kalam had three brothers and one sister. And he very humbly he says that he had undistinguished looks. That means he had quite ordinary, common looks. He was not born with an exceptional look, okay? And he's saying that his parents were handsome, they were tall, but he was quite ordinary. And they lived in an ancestral home. Ancestral home means a home which was made by ancestors, fathers and forefathers, okay? And it was built in the middle of 19th century. And it was a pakka house, that means it was made out of bricks and limestone, and it was situated on Mosque Street in Rameshwaram. Okay, Rameshwaram is a small island city in Madras. My austere father. See, there's a new word called austere here, means simple, strict, and severe. Though they were very humble, though they came from a middle class, but they were very strict with many norms and discipline. They used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. Inessential here means those which are not necessary. Okay, his father used to avoid all those inessential comforts, but he always used to give them or provide them all necessary things in terms of food, medicine, or clothes. His father avoided luxuries but always provided them with the necessities or basic things in there that they needed in their life. In fact, I would say mine was a secure childhood. Secure here means safe. So this line tells us that Kalam was very satisfied and he is showing gratitude, thankfulness to his parents for giving him such secure, safe childhood. Kalam further mentions that the Second World War broke out in 1939. Okay, and Abdul was just 8 years old. There, at that point of time, there was a sudden demand of tamarind seeds. Now, tamarind in local language, Nepali ma हामी titi भन्छौँ. So, tamarind seeds, demands of tamarind seeds suddenly rose. And what he used to do, children, he used to collect the seeds and sell them to the provision shop. Provision here means a shop where generally food items are sold. So he used to collect tamarind seeds and sell it to a provision shop. He would thus earn 1 anna per day. Okay, 1 anna we would say 1 anna would be 6 paise. Okay, so he used to earn 1 anna. Okay, later he helped his cousin in the distribution of newspapers in Rameshwaram and earned his first wages. So, see, Kalam here in this paragraph 3, he says, there's one line that I want to read out for you all. A day's collection would fetch me the princely sum of 1 anna. Princely sum means a great generous amount. But here he is mentioning this as princely sum in an ironic tone. Ironic means opposite. Actually, 1 anna was not that big amount, isn't it? But he used to feel that he had earned a big amount. Okay, this is how he started earning his first wage. Later on, he joined his cousin in distribution of newspaper. His cousin's name was mentioned here. Name is mentioned here in your as Jalaluddin, brother-in-law. Okay, and this is how he used to earn his first wage. Our area being isolated was completely unaffected by the war. Isolated again here means lonely and cut off. But soon India was forced to join allied forces. See, in Second World War, there were two forces fighting against each other, allied and Axis. So India had to join allied forces, and something like a state of alarm and emergency was declared. The first casualty came in the form of suspension of the train halt to be at Rameshwaram station. So what happened? He used to, read those newspaper a lot called Dinamani. Now what happened? Because of the World War, now the train would not stop in Rameshwaram. It is said here, suspension of train halt. That means end. Now the train is not going to stop in Rameshwaram station. And now newspapers had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train on Rameshwaram road between Rameshwaram and Dhanuskodi. So Rameshwaram Dhanuskodi को बीचमा चाहिँ के गर्थ्यो उनीहरूले त्यो न्युजपेपर डिनामनी चाहिँ रोल गरेर they used to throw it from the train because train would not stop now. Yeah. That forced my cousin Samsuddin, who distributed newspapers in Rameshwaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundles. And for this job, who was appointed? Yes, our Kalam was appointed. And half a century later, he says, I can still feel the surge of pride in earning my own money for the first time. Okay? Surge of pride is increasing the feeling of satisfaction. Now also, when he recalls, he says that I feel so proud of myself by the way I first started earning my own wage. So, paragraph 3 ends here. Abdul Kalam inherited honesty and self-discipline from his father, and from his mother he inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness. Okay. Now he talks about his closest friends. He had 3 close friends in his childhood. They were Ramananda Shastri, Arvindan, and Shiva Prakashan. All these boys belong to Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. Okay? Orthodox means very strict, traditional towards their religion. And they were Hindus. And here we can see Kalam was from a Muslim family. But this did not affect their friendship with Abdul. Ramananda's father was the highest priest in Rameshwaram temple. The family of Kalam respected all religion. They took part in Hindu festivals as well. His mother and grandmother told stories from Ramayana and the life of Prophet to the children at bedtime. Later on, Rameshwaram temple, the priest of Rameshwaram temple, okay, his son, what happened to him later on is he himself took over the priesthood of Rameshwaram temple, okay. Then his another friend called Arvindan, he went and he became a business arranger, okay. He used to arrange transport for visiting pilgrims. Pilgrims भनेको तीर्थयात्रीहरू. And Shiva Prakashan later on he became a catering contractor for Southern Railways. Catering here means somebody who looks after the food and kitchen. Paragraph 5 mentions how Kalam used to enthusiastically participate in Hindu festival. Okay, here he mentions during the annual Sri Sita Raman Kalyanam ceremony. Kalyanam here means in South India, Kalyanam means marriage ceremony. Okay, so now this marriage ceremony of Ram and Sita was redepicted. Okay, and those times it was known as Sita Ram Kalyanam ceremony. His family used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying idols of Lord from temple to the marriage site situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near his house. And this shows that Kalam was brought up with a secular feeling. He was always taught about both Hinduism as well as Islam. Okay, and this is how Kalam was brought up with all these qualities. Now one day a new teacher came to their class. At that time Abdul was in 5th standard at Rameshwaram Elementary School. He used to wear a cap. Okay, it set him apart as a Muslim, the typical cap that Muslims wear. Okay, he used to wear that cap to school. He always sat in the front row next to Ramananda Shastri, who was the son of the priest of Rameshwaram temple. The teacher could not tolerate a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. So he asked Abdul Kalam to sit on the back bench. Abdul felt very sad. Ramananda Shastri was also very sad. When the school was over, they came back home. They told their parents about the incident. Ramananda Shastri's father called the teacher and asked him not to fill the poison of social inequality and communal hatred in the minds of innocent children. He told the teacher to either say sorry or leave the school and the city. The teacher later on said sorry, he apologized and reformed himself and accepted Abdul in his classroom. The next incident, which has been reflected in your chapter, My Childhood, is about his science teacher, who was thoroughly motivating and inspiring man in the life of Kalam. The science teacher of Abdul Kalam was an orthodox Brahmin. He was also a Brahmin man. And his wife was also very, very conservative. Now, what happened? One day he invited him to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified. She was very afraid at the idea that Muslim boy was being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen. Ritually pure means kept protected from all outside influences. Okay? And she was very horrified. How can a Muslim boy come and sit in my kitchen and eat? So she refused to serve Kalam in her kitchen. But Siva Subramanya, that is his science teacher, Siva Subramanya Iyer, was not perturbed. Perturbed here means upset. Nor he got angry with his wife, but instead he served Kalam with his own hands and sat down beside him to eat his meal. His wife watched them from behind the kitchen door, and Kalam wondered whether she was observing any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. When Kalam was leaving his house, Siva Subramanya Iyer invited him to join for dinner again in the next weekend. But Kalam hesitated a bit, okay? And his science teacher told him not to get upset, okay? And he gave a golden words here. He said, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. Confronted here means have to be faced. So next time when he visited his science teacher's house, Siva Subramanya Iyer's wife took him inside her kitchen and served him food with her own hands. Later, when Second World War ended, Abdul Kalam asked his father's permission to go to Ramananthapuram for further studies. Okay, now Abdul's mother, Ashiamma, she didn't want him to go. Okay, there at that point, Abdul's father gave a very beautiful example and cited Khalil Gibran. He told Abdul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of lives longing for themselves. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. Okay? He beautifully made his mother understand that though we give birth to our children, they have their own life, they have their own thoughts. And Abdul had to go and grow. He had to be independent. And this way, he convinced his mother, and this way, Kalam was allowed to go to the next station, Ramananthapuram, for his further studies. His parents gave him all the qualities and love, but did not force their thoughts on them. Therefore, from this extract, we can conclude that Abdul Kalam was born in a middle class family. He was a short boy with ordinary looks. He was a simple boy, but very hardworking and studious. He was wise, he was generous, honest, and very importantly, respectful towards his parents. He was dynamic and had the potentials to do hard work. Abdul did not get luxuries but got all the necessities of his life. He learned dedication and sincerity from his mother and secularism from his father. His science teacher also influenced him a lot. His hardships made him a strong man. I hope, children, you all have got inspired. I hope you all have got an inspiration from this extract. I hope you all enjoyed the lesson too.